Hi, welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I'm Lisa Curcio. Today is Monday. It is August 28th. The year is 2023, and this is a special YouTube premiere, which means I'm live with you right now in the chat. Along with me, you'll find Gina Hawley. We're here to interact with you and answer your questions during this live premiere. Now, I want to tell you all about tonight's card. I'm going to teach you a simple Halloween card using an easy card layout. Now, if you don't want to do Halloween cards, that's fine, or perhaps yours are already done. Good for you. I've got other samples to share with you, and one of which I'm going to teach you a simple technique for. Now, a card layout is also known as a card sketch, which gives you a map on how to create your handmade cards, and I think you're going to love it. We would love to interact with you during tonight's premiere, so do me a favor and log into your YouTube account, which uses your Gmail address. You'll find us off here to the side, and we'll be happy to answer your questions, or leave a comment if you're watching the replay. And then finally, make sure you do not forget to download that free project sheet that you're going to find down in the video description below. That's going to lead you over to the pictures, the cutting dimensions, and the supplies for all the cards I'm going to share with you this evening. All right, we're ready? Let's get started. I'm going to begin with basic white as my layer. Now, all the cutting dimensions are for you inside that project sheet, which will be available when the premiere is over. I'm going to be using Memento black ink for my cards, so one ink pad, which makes this even easier. And let me show you the stamp set, or actually the bundle that I'm going to be using. It's called Bag of Bones. Now, this is brand new in the mini catalog that debuts on September 6th. And I fell in love with the options because aside from Halloween cards, I think these will make some great over-the-hill birthday cards as well. Now, the dies are super abundant. Not only do you have the full skeleton, you can assemble and make all kinds of fun dance moves and add all types of accessories to it. Now, I want to make sure that you see the fence and some of the other images that are in here, which of course you can create lots and lots of fun things with. So let's start with that stamp set, and I'm going to bring in the greeting that says Happy Halloween. I'm going to ink it up on my Memento black ink pad. Now, this is photopolymer, which means that the stamp is going to turn the color of the ink. So if you're a brand new stamper, you're going to love this feature. I'm going to stamp bottom right here, and I'm looking to apply it straight as I can without getting my head in your camera view. Lots of firm, even pressure, and then you can lift. We're going to move over now to a scrap piece of basic white cardstock that I have here, and we're going to do some stamping. And I just chose this one that's already assembled just to make the card nice and simple. Now you're going to see that he is very closely related to the ink pad. So let me give you a tip if you're new. Turn that image face up on your work surface and ink it this way. That's going to make sure that you don't miss a spot. I'm tapping and traveling to make sure that it's well covered. My second tip is to bring in a pierce mat. And I love this because what's going to happen is it's going to give me a little bit of oomph from the bottom up. Now, remember I told you about photopolymer that you can see through it? Do you see the top of his head here? It looks like maybe I didn't press well enough in the ink pad. So let's move that over a little bit. Let's give that a little bit extra tap right there. And then lots of firm, even pressure. That pierce mat is going to help press from the bottom up, which is going to give you a much clearer image every single time. And it's a great tip for photopolymer stamps when you have a solid image. I'm going to go ahead and clean that right off camera and close that up. We're done with our ink. That's how simple this is going to be. Now, there is a coordinating die for this, which I just talked to you about. And I did do that ahead of time just to save us a little bit of time tonight. So I have that here. Now, obviously, this in itself is great, but we want to spruce up that background. And this is where I brought in some designer series paper. Now, I want to show you this paper. It's coming out, like I said, on September 6th, and I have fallen in love with it. It's called Them Bones. Now you can see here it's 12 by 12, and I'm going to manipulate this inside your camera view a little bit. Let me move you out so you can see a little bit better there. There are quadrants on this one piece that you can actually cut up and make pieces for your card fronts or scrapbook pages, and I love that. So we've got, of course, that one. Let's work from the bottom up so you can see all of them. And then there's this one and this one. Oh, so many options. Look at this. This would be great for scrapbooking as well as card making. And this, I want to call your attention to that. That die is going to die cut these larger images. How brilliant is that? There's another piece, and of course the one I shared with you. But Stampin' Up! Designer Series papers are double-sided. This is fantastic for all your fall cards. And of course there's other patterns here as well that can be used. Of course that can be used all year round as far as fall is concerned too. And then this and this. So you get quite a bit of paper in here, and I think it's a fantastic option for fall. So what I did ahead of time is I brought in a die from the Reach for the Stars dies. Now, I love these cascading circles because they encompass everything. Now, I'm going to flip this over because on the back side, I had originally made a mistake. I measured them for you. So I want to make sure you know the smallest one is 5/8 and they go all the way up to 2.5 inches. So they work well with the Stampin' Up! Punches as well. Now, I did do that ahead of time, and I've got those pieces here, and I punched them out of just that simple pumpkin pie colored paper. I punched out 9 of them. Let me push those up off to the side, and let me teach you this simple card layout. Here is my piece of cardstock. Now, oftentimes, if you're like me, when you're working with small pieces, it has a tendency to move. So let me give you another tip. I'm going to bring in a small piece of grid paper, and I'm going to put a tiny bit of adhesive on the back. And I'm touching it because I know the oils in my skin will help break down that adhesive. I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to let that grid paper become my best friend. And I'm going to line up the outside edges and the bottom to one of those grids. This now is secure enough that when I lay out my pieces, they're not going to shift on me. My best tip for you is to lay them out first. And if you're like me, you're going to be like, oh, that looks great. Let's just start sticking them down. And it never works because we get too excited. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay these out. Now, these have a direction because of the text. If yours doesn't, fantastic. I will also tell you that if you're using a designer series paper, again, double-sided, isn't that fun? So you could mix and match if you'd like. If you're using a designer series paper that does have a direction, you can manipulate the circles because it creates an interest of movement. And I'll give you a little bit of an idea of that. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out these 9, but I'm going to talk you through the grid. I purposely stamped the greeting first to allocate space for it. Now, on the sketch that I'm going to provide with you in the project sheet, you're going to see how I have these a little bit closer together. Now, how far you separate them is entirely up to you. The one in your project sheet is going to be slightly different where I expanded them just a little bit to allocate more coverage for my skeleton. There's no right or wrong way. Now, you might be thinking, how the heck are you going to get those straight? All right, so let's talk about that. Let's move these out of the way. I like to do things visually. I hate measuring. So if you're like me, you're in good shape tonight. If you'd like to measure, go ahead and measure the center. But I'm going to add adhesive to the back side of one of these circles. And I'm just going to do this quickly. So if you're using liquid glue, make sure you don't use too much and don't go too close to the edge. I'm going to move you in just a little bit closer so that you can see better, making sure my words are going in the same direction. I am looking visually for the center, which looks like right about here. And I am lightly pressing this in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this other one and I'm going to get it ready and add some adhesive to the back side of this one. Now this is where a T-square ruler is going to be your best friend. And I have one linked for you on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. I cannot live without this. I use it all the time. So if you're like me and you don't do many things straight, that edge here can be butted right up against the paper, which has been temporarily secured to that grid paper. So you know the paper is straight. And I'm looking here, and as long as this is straight, I'm like, okay, perfect. I'm going to take this other one now, and I am going to place it here. I'm looking to keep a small margin here, but I'm looking to make sure that my bottoms are even. I'm going to go ahead and take this. Don't you love that take your pick tool? That putty tip is like my best friend. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and use that T-square. And I'm looking for the margin here and here to be about the same as possible. And then I'm going to tack those in place. Once I'm happy with that, we're going to go ahead and repeat this process. Keep in mind, if you want these further apart, you can. I found for me, by stamping the greeting first, I had much better luck in making sure that I had space for it. Again, here comes my T-square, but I am going to work with the center one first. So I'm looking here. I'm going to leave similar space as I did the space above, and I'm going to tack that in place. And then you can see this is going to go very, very quickly. Now, this is your first time here at my YouTube channel. I am so glad you've come by. Thank you for being here and watching. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you click the bell icon that's next to it and the word all, YouTube will send you notifications when I'm here on YouTube and share a new premiere or video with you. And I'd love to share some more ideas with you. And I'm super excited about these other cards I'm going to share with you tonight as well, simply because they're quite different. So again, looking to try to keep those same margins and attaching that here. If you're like me and you don't want to be bothered with the T-square, you can go for it. So let's go ahead and just line this one up here. Again, my paper's anchored down to make this easy, trying to get everything nice and straight. And then we're going to do 2 more. The other thing you can do is head over to my website under the shop tab, and you'll find that I have a very vast PDF tutorial library there for you that includes lots of pictures, cutting dimensions, and supplies for various stamp sets, probably some that you already have. So you can go ahead and purchase those. I only charge $1 per page, and they're available for immediate download. All right, there we go. All right, now to release this from the paper, don't pull. You don't want to rip. Twist. That's going to release the adhesive. And I'm using Super Strong Stamp and Seal Plus. Let's go ahead and take this piece and let's add some adhesive to the back side to make a layer out of this, because I'm going to play up some of those colors. I'm going to bring in a piece of basic black cardstock here, and I don't do anything straight. So I'm going to turn it horizontally to make it easier for my hand. And then this way I can hold it with my head over the top and then visually look for that equal border all the way around. Once I'm happy with it, we can go ahead and tack that in place. Now I'm going to move that off to the side, and here is the card base. This is pumpkin pie, which coordinates with the designer series paper. And this is the one thing I love about Stampin' Up! Products is the color coordination. Now this is 5.5 by 8.5. I did score it in half before you joined me. I'm going to use my bone folder to go over that nice crisp crease. And then this is where we're going to adhere this. So let's go ahead and flip that upside down. We're going to add some adhesive. And I find this adhesive is so strong, I don't have to add it every single place. And then once again, we can center this. I'm not going to do it straight. So I'm going to go this way, hold it sideways, and look for those margins the very best that I can. And then we're going to tack that in place. Remember that skeleton? Well, we've got a couple more steps here, and I think you're going to love it. I decided I wanted this elevated. So let's flip this upside down on the silicone craft sheet, which I love, because adhesive, liquid glue, and hot glue will not stick to it. I've got my dimensionals and my mini dimensionals here, and I'm going to use that Take Your Pick tool once again. These larger ones are perfect for the back side of his head, but they don't fit too well in the other areas. Now, because I want it elevated and I know my card is going to be mailed, it is very important to me that I have balance on these so that this doesn't get all messed up through the mail meter at the post office, which has rollers in it. So my best advice to you is to take your time. Now, let me give you another tip. Grab yourself a pair of scissors, and I keep these with a red ribbon on them, which means they're just for the sticky stuff. And then I'm going to cut these mini dimensionals in half while they're right here on the paper. So I'll cut myself a couple rows. I'm going to go ahead and use my Take Your Pick tool to help me lift those. And that's going to go perfectly for these little joint images. So I don't have to worry about cutting them in half while they're peeled off of this paper backing. It's going to make it super easy for me. Let me just pull that one apart, and I want one here down by his foot because, again, I want to make sure that these are well anchored for the mail meter. Now here near the top, we've got some elbows, and if you're like me and you're just really concerned it's not going to make it through the mail meter, go ahead and let's put a couple extra there as well. There's nothing more embarrassing than making this incredible card and they get it and the whole thing falls apart. Give it a good push to make sure those are secure. My tip for you when you're taking off the dimensional backings for these small pieces is brace the cardstock with your other hand and then pierce with the paper piercing tool attachment. That's going to help you release those paper backings. So we're going to go ahead now and we're going to remove all of these, and then you're going to see that I'm going to continue to hold that image in place. We don't want any of those pieces to be pulled off, nor do we want to rip the details of that small cardstock. So we're going to come over here now, and we are going to add him down here, and I love that we can give him some fun dancing motion. But I decided it was a little bit plain up here. So let me point out something on the dies that I think you're going to enjoy. In addition to all the accessories, you'll see there's a moon and some stars here. But I saw this one. There's a trio of bats. So I took the liberty ahead of time of die cutting those from black cardstock. Let me just lay them out here. Now they are small, and I know what you're thinking. Egads, how are we going to attach those? Well, simple with liquid glue. But the liquid glue has to have a precision tip because the tip on this one is just too wide. This is the multi-purpose liquid glue sold in my online store. But I went ahead and I got these. This is the precision tip glue applicator. And not a Stampin' Up! Product, but like the T-Ruler, I have it linked for you in my website at Shop Craft Room Favorites. And this has been a game changer for me. So let me show you how simple this is. Now, a YouTube viewer told me, put a rubber band around the base of your bottle to hold that silicone cap that comes with it. And I was like, wow, that's a huge help. Thank you. I learned so much from all of you, so don't forget to share your ideas. I'm going to shake that glue down and I'm just going to get it started because I don't like surprises, but look how tiny I can get those dots. Again, just like the circles, very, very important. I want you to take these and I want you to lay them out where you want them before you start sticking them down, because sure enough, you'll want to have changed the position. So let's go ahead and let's do those there. Using that take your pick tool, I'm eyeing where the center of that body is going to go, and I'm putting a tiny dot there. And then I'm going to place that here and then just tack that down. Now we're going to move on to the next one. I mean, quick and simple, right? Tiny dot and place this down. These bottles will entirely change your idea of liquid glue if you're like me. I always have a tendency of using too much and then I have it all over the place. So these have been a game changer for me. The great thing about this glue is that it's very, very strong and it dries quickly. Now before you put the cap back on, I want to give you a tip. Run that through your silicone craft sheet and get all that excess glue off before you put the cap on. Make sure you store it horizontally too. Now, once the glue dries, these areas here are going to be translucent and you can just wipe them right off. So it's not going to hurt that silicone craft sheet. So here is our first card. Super simple, but really cute and a great card layout, because wait till you see what else I've made. Now, my next card uses a brand new product again. This is Autumn Leaves coming out September 6th, just like this one. And this is a bundle. So there's a stamp set and coordinating dies, and the possibilities here are endless. So you can stamp, of course, beautiful definition there, and then die cut, or you can build your leaves with the dies themselves. See the veins? Really pretty and quite versatile. So let me show you this card. Very, very different, but it has the same layout. Do you see the 9 pieces here? Well, I did that with the leaves. Now you might be looking at this going, is that designer series paper? Nope. And this is the technique I want to teach you. So let's bring in that scratch paper once again. And I've got some scrap vanilla cardstock. And I love to use this when I'm using my fall card themes, because I think it's a little bit softer for those regal tones. And for this, I'll use the Mossy Meadow ink pad, which is one of the colors that are used here. Again, all the supplies for that card are going to be on your project sheet. With the Stampin' Up! Ink pad, you're going to notice that one end, the ink pad is raised very close to the edge, where the other one here has an area for your fingers. Hold it over scratch paper, and you're going to lightly scrape. And I scraped in several directions. And you want different areas of intensity versus those that are light and dark. And that's what's going to create the realism for the die when you die cut the leaves. So I did this in the 3 colors, pumpkin pie, and this is copper clay. And I used the die here to die cut those. Now, the thing I love about these is you're going to find that there's duplicates of these leaves, which means you can do 2 at a time. It's quite this time saver, which is exactly how I created this card. Now, the greeting is from that stamp set. I did emboss the background. I blended on with a blending brush a very light coat of crumb cake ink just to kind of age this. Really, really pretty and quite different than our first card. Now, the last one is coming from Modern Garden. Now, this is offered as a bundle with a punch, but I love the stamp set because you're not going to believe the designer series paper that coordinates with this. You can turn these into poinsettias as well as beautiful modern flowers, and I love that there's greetings to encompass all the flowers that you can make. Now, this is the card that I made using that one and the coordinating designer series paper called Garden Walk. I made sure the flowers were going in the same direction, but you know what? If I didn't, this would create movement on the background. So don't be afraid to tip and turn all the images to create more visual interest. I did fussy cut this with my scissors by hand, and I did emboss a greeting on here, and I used the Something Fancy dies just for that little bit of a label cutout. Now, as always, I absolutely love to know which one is your favorite. So do me a favor and pop down right now in the comments and let me know. Your feedback is always very important to me as I design new projects for you. I want to make sure you know all about this. Party with the Stamp Studio is coming up. It's on September 23rd. It's going to be held in person here in the Tampa Bay, Florida area. We would love to meet you and have you meet one another. You can find all the information over on my website. It's going to pop up right there if you just scroll through the homepage. Otherwise, it's under online events, Party with the Stamp Studio. We have a full day of fun in store for you. We have demonstrations and make and take projects, prize patrol products as well, and we would love, love, love to meet you. Florida is beautiful at the end of September, and we hope that you'll make a weekend of it. We have travel information there and a block of room rates for you as well. Additionally, we just talked about this, that new mini catalog that is coming out on September 6th. Now, I can't show you the cover of the publication here just yet, but I want to let you know that it is filled with brand new products. Stamp sets, designer series papers, dies, embossing folders, and accessories. Now, if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you are interested in receiving a catalog, head over to my website and click on Shop, and then scroll down to catalogs. We would love to be able to put one in your hands. Finally, I want to make sure you know all about this, Stamp Studio memberships. If you love new ideas, I've got you covered. For $5 a month, every single Monday, you will get a new tutorial right in your inbox from me that I designed specifically for these memberships. They are not shared anywhere else. And I got great news for you if you are a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you love new ideas. The photos and the tutorials are not watermarked, so you are welcome to share them however you'd like. The only stipulation is we ask that you do not sell them. And then it doesn't matter whatever country that you live in. So we would love to have you join Stamp Studio memberships. Level 2 includes all that, plus a fun fold, a discount on tutorials, and of course I do random giveaways every single month. Do me a favor, mark your calendar. We will be back with you in 2 weeks because next week is Labor Day. The Stamp Studio is closed. That is Monday, September 11th at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We hope that you will be here with us. I've got some fantastic projects to share with you. Gina, thanks for all your help moderating with me tonight. Looking forward to joining you all in 2 weeks when we're here back at the Stamp Studio after the holiday. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye-bye.